Good morning. This is our second day of the bonus week 6. This is not a formal part of the training. It's a use of what occurred during the training. In today's session, I'm going to introduce the artful use of balanced intelligence processes, in this case, combining the middle way memory matrix with the gold key release. I've alluded to that previously, that some procedures can be used in a preparatory way for others. And I'll explain that just before we go into the participatory part of this meeting. I'll then do a reading called the Escape Hatch from Hard Reality into Intelligent Fluidity. And from that, you'll have the opportunity to select from a series of pairs of items. Pairs because we use pairs of items in the middle way memory matrix. And these pairs, I'll go through that when the time comes. But let's just say that there are 3 basic grades or categories of items here: personal issues, world issues, and basic faculties of intelligence. That sounds a little bit like Jeopardy categories, doesn't it? Once we've selected, we'll be going through gold key release and then the middle way memory matrix. So now here is the reading, the escape hatch from hard reality into fluid reality. The intensity of an experience and the quality of the same experience, or qualities of the same experience, are inversely related. That means that when attention to the intensity of something increases, attention to its qualities decreases, and vice versa. When we pay more attention to the qualities, our available attention for the intensity decreases. By tendency, our attention gets trapped by the qualities of an experience, and we fail to note the intensity of that same experience. We may sense qualities first, intensity second, or the reverse according to our interest. When we shift attention to the intensity of an experience, we put less attention on the quality or the feeling of the experience. The shift, when made completely enough, releases us from entrancement by the qualities that keep us trapped. The experience dissolves into pure intensity without definition. On the other hand, if the attractiveness of an experience is sufficiently overwhelming in a given moment, attention is not free enough to shift to the intensity of the experience. The experience takes on, or we assign to it, the status of solid reality, real reality, unchanging or persistent reality. At that point, all we have left is to deal with the particulars of the experience. Transcendence of it is impossible. There is an escape hatch, the peculiar property of the 4-dimensional tetraseed: attention, intention, memory, and imagination. When its expressions are well integrated and resonate together, the whole lot loses its density, its cohesion. Experience dissolves into an open field sensation, undefined or free attention. The solid fixity of reality loses its solidity and dissolves, and the sense of self also dissolves into formless, pristine consciousness. Integration of the distinct particulars of experience dissolves into an undefined integrity without distinctions. The fixed, hard case, solid status of reality softens and spreads, loses intensity, loses density until it is forgotten, which is generally quite quickly. If the experience shows up in life again, it is a very different kind of experience than one might have expected. Integration into integrity dissolves distinctions. Why is that? Because distinctions are always facets or aspects of something, never the whole thing. Integrity refers to the wholeness of something. So when we're looking at distinctions, it's impossible to see the integrity of something. When we're looking at the integrity of something, our attention to the distinctions dissolves. Now, this is what could be called an advanced instruction, because it requires sufficient free attention for us to shift our attention from the entrancement of some kind of experience into the recognition of the experience's intensity. Requires free attention, something that's generated by the gold key release. And what this writing has said, in effect, is whenever experiencing anything, we have a moment where we can shift our attention to feeling the intensity of that experience. And that, because it decreases our attention to the qualities of the experience, liberates our attention from the experience itself. The experience loses its binding quality and its distinctions. In other words, dissolves. That's the same outcome generated by the gold key release. But the gold key release is a kind of training of attention that permits us to do this very shorthand maneuver of releasing ourselves from the bind of some sort of an experience. So that's our reading from that section. Now, I've said that there would be 3 categories from which we may choose to choose the items that we'll use for the processes that follow. As it said, world issues, personal issues, and basic faculties of intelligence. So I'm going to read the pairs that I've selected here, and you can use these by yourself. I'm going to arbitrarily choose a pair unless I hear from a preference from someone, in which case we'll use that. So here are the pairs. Starting with personal issues: entrapment and choosing, masculine and feminine. So those are personal issues. For world issues, we have progressive and regressive, which describe movements in humanity, political orientations, progressive and regressive, which some call conservative, but conservative is no longer accurate. They're actively regressive. And for basic faculties, imagining and remembering, the basic faculties being attention, intention, memory, and imagination, remembering and imagining. Now, here's another possibility: control and exhaustion. So if one of those happens to appeal to you, and we don't do it in this session, you may do that by yourself using the recording as the instruction. I have particular interest in the experiment of intervening in world consciousness, because our civilization is, let's say, at a bit of a stress point and a tipping point. And this will be an experiment for you and I to feel how choosing world level issues affects us, and we'll see if it affects the world process. And for that, I'm choosing from that list progressive and regressive. So our first step will be to amplify our perception of those two items as preparation for the middle way memory matrix. We'll be using the gold key release in a special way. In an earlier session, someone asked about the matter of why would we use the gold key release on something desirable? And I said that it clears the slate when we do that. How does it clear the slate? First, the gold key release amplifies our perception and then follows with the step of ceasing or stopping imagining. So we're going to do the amplification part without the dissolution or release part. You'll see how that works here. So we have progressive and we have regressive. We'll start with progressive. We'll do the gold key release without the release step as follows. Progressive, progressive, feeling, feeling progressive, progressive. Feel the intensity of identifying progressive, progressive. Notice where you feel it in you. Progressive, progressive. Feel the intensity of its intensity. Progressive, progressive. Listen, listen. Feel the shape of its intensity. Progressive. Intending, progressive. Intending, progressive. Intending, refusing, refusing. Refusing, progressive. Refusing, progressive. Progressive, progressive, matters. Progressive. Progressive doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Progressive matters. It matters. Feel how it mattering involves you. Feel how it mattering involves others. It's true. It's true. Untrue. 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 It's true. Untrue. Untrue. It's true. It's true. Remembering. Remembering. It's true. It's true. Remembering. Remembering progressive. It's true. Remembering. Remembering. Untrue. Untrue. Remembering. Remembering progressive. Untrue. Remembering progressive. It's true. Remembering progressive. Untrue. Okay, that's gold key release for progressive. Now, regressive. Regressive, regressive, feeling, feeling, regressive, regressive. Feel the intensity of identifying regressive, regressive. Notice where you feel it in you. Regressive, regressive. Listen, listen. Feel the shape of its intensity. Regressive. Intending, regressive. Intending, regressive. Intending, refusing, refusing. Refusing, regressive. Refusing, regressive. Regressive, regressive. Matters. Regressive. Regressive doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Regressive matters. It matters. Feel how it mattering involves you. Feel how it mattering involves others. It's true. It's true. Untrue. 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 It's true. Untrue. Untrue. It's true. It's true. Remembering. Remembering. It's true. It's true. Remembering. Remembering regressive. It's true. Remembering, remembering. Untrue, untrue. Remembering. Remembering regressive. Untrue. Remembering regressive. It's true. Remembering regressive. Untrue. Okay, that's our setup. Now we combine into the middle way memory matrix. Progressive, progressive. Regressive, regressive. Progressive, progressive, regressive. Regressive, regressive, progressive. Progressive, regressive, regressive. Regressive, progressive, progressive. Progressive, progressive. Intending, progressive. Intending, progressive. Refusing, progressive. Refusing, progressive. Intending, progressive. Progressive, progressive. Regressive, regressive. Intending, regressive. Intending, regressive. Refusing, regressive. Refusing, regressive. Intending, regressive, regressive, regressive. Intending, progressive, intending, progressive, progressive. Intending, regressive, intending, regressive, regressive. Intending, progressive, progressive. Intending, regressive, regressive. Intending, progressive, intending, regressive, intending, progressive, intending, regressive, intending, regressive, intending, progressive. Refusing, progressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, progressive. Refusing, progressive, intending, regressive, intending, regressive, regressive. Refusing, progressive, intending, regressive, regressive. Refusing, progressive, intending, regressive, refusing, progressive, regressive, refusing, progressive, regressive, regressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, regressive, intending, progressive, intending, progressive, progressive, refusing, regressive, intending, progressive, progressive, refusing, regressive, intending, progressive, refusing, regressive, progressive, refusing, regressive, progressive, progressive, refusing, regressive. Intending, intending, refusing, 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 progressive, refusing, progressive, regressive. Intending, intending, refusing, 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 regressive, refusing, regressive, progressive. Refusing, refusing, intending, 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 progressive, intending, progressive, regressive. Refusing, refusing, intending, 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 progressive, intending, progressive, regressive. Refusing, refusing, intending, 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 regressive, intending, regressive, progressive, 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 refusing, progressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, regressive, progressive, progressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, progressive, 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 regressive, regressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, progressive, regressive, regressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, regressive, 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 progressive, progressive, intending, regressive, intending, regressive, intending, progressive, 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 intending, progressive, intending, regressive, intending, regressive, progressive, progressive, regressive, regressive, intending, progressive, intending, progressive, intending, regressive, 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 intending, regressive, intending, progressive, intending, progressive, regressive, 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 intending, regressive, refusing, progressive, regressive, refusing, progressive, intending, regressive, 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 refusing, regressive, intending, progressive, progressive, regressive, intending, progressive, refusing, regressive, refusing, regressive, progressive, intending, progressive, refusing, regressive, progressive, refusing, regressive, intending, progressive, 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 refusing, progressive, intending, regressive, regressive, progressive, refusing, progressive, intending, regressive, regressive, progressive, intending, regressive, refusing, progressive, refusing, progressive, progressive, intending, progressive, refusing, progressive, 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 refusing, progressive, intending, progressive, progressive, regressive, intending, regressive, refusing, regressive, 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 refusing, regressive, intending, regressive, regressive, progressive, progressive, regressive, regressive, progressive, regressive, progressive, progressive, regressive, progressive, regressive, progressive, regressive, regressive, progressive, regressive, progressive, 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 regressive, progressive, progressive, regressive, regressive, progressive, regressive, 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 progressive, 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 regressive, 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 progressive, 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 regressive, 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 progressive, 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 regressive. The middle way memory matrix. That's all for today. I look forward to your reviews and your video. Feel free to contact me for anything you need to ask or tell. And I'm thanking you for attending this training. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I'm going to give you a little heads up on what's coming. As you may guess, a training in the middle way memory matrix is one option, and the other is what I call Gold Key Release Mastermind. I'll explain the Gold Key Release Mastermind. There will be a reading, and that reading will be designed to stir up content for passing through a gold key release. Now, in the case of masterminds in general, it's group participation, and in this case, we'll be using group participation to select the item with which we're working. Now, this is a precursor to your doing the same thing for yourself, where you'll be choosing items in your own life that you want to clean up, to relieve yourself of the entanglement in those items. And life itself will be like the reading, in that life itself will be highlighting those issues to you so that you're already aware of the charge it has, and you can, by giving a name to that item, dissolve that charge for yourself without need for guidance by anybody else. In that sense, you may look at this course as a kind of training wheels, where you were given support until you don't need it anymore, at which point you're on your own, free form. And now I'm saying goodbye. Bye-bye.